21 stages, about 3 weeks of cycling, and obviously one of, if not the biggest name, Chris Froome, is not taking part. Is that a big miss?
No, well, he obviously he won it last year in incredible fashion, coming like he did back from over 3 minutes down with only 3 stages left. But this year he's all about trying to win his 5th Tour de France. He wants to join the Immortals, the Eddie Merckx's and so on, who have won the race 5 times. He missed out last year. Geraint Thomas, his teammate, took it from him instead. But it's all about this year trying to get the 5th Tour for him. So complete focus on that for Froome this year.
All right. So Tom Dumoulin is obviously the favourite now. Does he deserve to be so?
I think so. He won the race 2 years ago. He came very, very close to winning it last year. I'd actually picked him out last year to win it before the race. And when Simon Yates started to collapse on stage 19, when Chris Froome took off on his crazy 80-kilometre attack, Tom Dumoulin actually went to something like 1-4 in play to win the race. And I actually traded out of all my bet at that point, just in case anything would happen. And sure enough, by the end of the stage, Chris Froome was odds on. During that stage, we had Simon Yates at odds on, Tom Dumoulin at odds on, and Chris Froome at odds on to win the Giro all in one stage. It was just a crazy, crazy day. But yes, again, back to your question, he's a very, very powerful time trialist, and it looks like the organisers have designed a route this year with Tom in mind to try and get him to come there. They want a superstar name with Chris Froome, probably going to skip it when the plans were being put in place. So they've designed a course which starts with a time trial, ends with a time trial, and has a time trial in the middle, something like 58 kilometres of time trialing, and that's where he will be able to make the difference. He will do a very good time trial at the very start. He'll probably come close to winning it, if not winning the first stage. He'll probably come close to, if not winning the last stage. And in between, the 34-kilometre time trial is just right up his street. He could put 2 minutes into the likes of Simon Yates, Miguel Angel Lopez, and it gives him a buffer for going to the mountains where maybe he's not quite as quick as some of the mountain goats, like the little Colombians, Miguel Angel Lopez and Egan Bernal of the new team Ineos. But it gives him a buffer at least that'll allow him to slide back 20 or 30 seconds on stages and still stay right up there with them. He's got bags of experience. He's a very clever rider. He's been there, done that, got the pink T-shirt before. So yeah, he's a worthy favourite. But there's a lot of guys right behind him in the betting that can challenge.
Again leads me to my next question here. Who can challenge him? And also because it's such a long race and anything can happen. And when we've spoken in the past and the amount of accidents, and I think one of the bets you gave was the number of riders to finish sort of over or under a certain, and that bet came in. Do you bet like on the outright? So are you betting on Tom Dumoulin to win? Do you hedge your bets on a few riders, or is it something that you do a little further into the tournament where it might be a little bit safer?
Kind of a bit of everything, really. I mean, you can take Dumoulin, I think, before the race if you fancy him, because he probably will put a lot of time in, not a lot of time, but he will put some time into a lot of his rivals in the very first day. So I think his price will only shorten from day one, maybe a little bit, not a lot. But, as the race goes on, then you start to reevaluate. Is he looking like he's maybe, not going so well? Did he not go so well in the first time trial? He's said in sort of interviews over the last week or so that he thinks he's not in the same shape he was, or as good shape as he was 2 years ago when he won it. But this is all mind games and bluff. They always play themselves down. Yeah. They'll always say, I've got, I'm not feeling so well, I'm not feeling great. And then they go out and they blow it to pieces. So you can never really take these guys' words in interviews before a race, because they like to try and take the pressure off a little bit. But, the number of finishers, etc., those markets will be coming out in the last few days before the race starts, because right now they don't even know who the full squads are. The teams aren't fully announced yet. I think, in the last 2 or 3 days, the bookies come out with a plethora of markets, number of finishers, who'll win the points jersey, who'll win the King of the Mountains jersey, number of finishers, number of stage wins for a rider, so you can bet whether, Dumoulin will win maybe 1 stage or 2 stages or 3 stages and so on. If you think he'll win all the 3 time trials, for example, you could bet on 2 stages or more. So, you just, watch what's going on day by day and reevaluate.
Yeah. So Tom Dumoulin, who is the best to challenge him?
Well, if you look at the betting, there's sort of a little group of riders all within about a point or two of him. It's very close, and if you kind of look across the bookies, there's actually some of them have different riders are almost the same price as Dumoulin, or within a half point a point. You've got Primož Roglic, who seems to be the sort of the second favourite with the majority of bookies, and this guy not so long ago he was a ski jumper. He's a late convert to the sport of cycling. And he's been absolutely phenomenal. He's a real superstar in the making. He's entered 2 stage races so far this year: the UAE Tour over in the United Arab Emirates and Tirreno Adriatico, which is a big race in Italy early in the season. And he's won both of those stage races. And right now, this week, he's taking part in the Tour Romandy. And as we speak, he's leading the race. After winning a sprint on the second day and coming very, very close, within 0.3 of a second of winning the time trial on the first day. So he's got sort of all the elements to throw up a good challenge to Dumoulin. He's a great time trialist. He can climb, but I think Dumoulin has a slight edge on him in some of the time trials, and he might have the edge on him in some of the climbs as well. So there won't be much between the two of them. I think Roglic is good for a stage win, if not 2 or more. He's that kind of rider. He's a punchy attacking rider, and he can get out and maybe take a stage. But and right behind him, then you've got Egan Bernal, who's sort of Chris Froome's replacement for Team Ineos. These are the team that have the new team that have spun out of Team Sky when a new sponsor came in this year. So an unfamiliar name, but a familiar team. And Egan Bernal is only 22, I think he is, a young Colombian, and he's going to be a superstar. He's an absolutely fantastic rider. He finished 15th in the Tour last year, but he did so while he was basically working his legs off for Chris Froome and Geraint Thomas. He ripped the race to pieces on many a stage up the mountains so as to blow off all of Froome and Thomas's rivals. And this year he's getting a chance to go as team leader for Team Ineos in the Tour of Italy, and I think he's something like 3rd favourite. So big expectations for a 22-year-old. He'll be right up there, but I think he will lose time in the time trials. He will make up time in some of the mountain stages, and the same can be said for Miguel Angel Lopez, who's my pick as an outsider, in that he's 10-1 as opposed to the sort of 3 and 4-1 that some of the others are. I picked him for the Tour of Spain first last year, and he finished 3rd. And I think I picked him for the Tour of Italy as well last year, and he finished 3rd as well. He was around 10 or 16-1 both times for that. He's good at getting onto the podium. He's there and thereabouts. He does well on the mountain stages. He attacks away to win sometimes, but his time trial is pretty poor. He's going to lose 2 minutes to Tom Dumoulin over the long time trial, so he's going to have to make that up elsewhere. But he's the kind of guy that could sneak into 3rd place as well.
All right. And so right now, for bettors looking... have you pulled the trigger on a few bets? Are you taking like Tom Dumoulin? What would you advise us to do right this minute before, obviously, hopefully we'll get you on before the prop, like with the prop bets, and when there's more markets out, King of the Hill, yellow jersey, that kind of thing. But before that, is there anything that you'd advise us to do right now, being in the know?
Well, unfortunately, there's not a lot we can do, because the only market that all of the bookies have out at the moment is the winner. Okay. They haven't come out with prices for anything else yet. So I think maybe the best thing to do is we have another catch up towards the end of next week maybe, and I'll go through some of the bets, because even things like the points jersey, okay, we've got a fair idea who's probably going to be in the race, but teams haven't been confirmed yet. And the guy who I think will probably go very well in the points jersey competition, Fernando Gaviria, he won it 2 years ago. He just confirmed today, for example, that he will be riding the Giro. So guys are still deciding whether they'll do it or wait for the Tour de France, wait for the Tour of Spain later in the year. So until the bookies know who's actually going to be in the competition, they can't price it up themselves. And even though I'm starting to do my homework, and I'm liking the look of Gaviria for the points jersey again, it's well, we can't bet on it yet to start with, but competitions like the King of the Mountains, we still don't know who's the full makeup of the squads are. So very often the winner of the King of the Mountains competition will come from some guy who's not one of the favourites. He's not going to be one of the guys going for the GC, because he'll want to go and try and get in breakaways during the stages with the big mountain passes. Like, there's some of the stages like the going over the Mortarolo and the Passo Mangan and so on, which give huge points, but they're so far out in the stage that the GC men will not be going over the top of those first. It'll be the breaks will be winning it, and then later in the stages, the break will be caught by the GC men, and they'll fight out the finish. So we still don't know, for example, who the kind of these guys down the line are, who the backup riders are in the squads, who might say, I'm going to go for the King of the Mountains this year.
All right, great stuff. That is Ian from at Cycling Betting. Honestly, this guy knows more about cycling than I literally have had hot dinners. It's amazing to talk to you, and hopefully we'll get you back on next week. We're just about to publish Ian O'Sullivan's article over at Odds Market as well, with a bit more of a breakdown for you guys who want to go and check that out. Oddsmarket.com. Ian O'Sullivan, a pleasure, and we'll speak next week.